Hey, good morning. We're here with June Lancaster from Asset Wisdom in Tadcaster. How are you doing, June?
I'm fine. Good morning. Morning to everyone.
Hi. So let's start things off. If you could tell us a little bit of background as to who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for, please.
Okay. What I do now is I'm MD of a education company, and we work primarily in a sort of fairly niche market, which is around the management of assets. So we provide online learning, mainly online learning, to organisations who are looking at how they manage their assets far more than they did before. And this is not financial assets, just so we're absolutely clear. This is about infrastructure and equipment, and some people say about people as well, but I think that falls into a slightly different category. Also to individuals that are building their career in what is a very young discipline, asset management, but a very fast growing discipline is asset management.
Fantastic.
In terms of, oh, sorry.
No, keep going. That's good.
Okay. In terms of me and how I ended up here, I've had a couple of businesses that were all around the same thing, e-learning, and that's what I sort of enjoy the development of. Though I'm not a techie person, it's much more about the content and the learner relationships. It's much more about relationship building and how learners can utilize e-learning effectively. I think by background, I'm a nurse, so very different. Was a director of nursing, so very different. And to cut a very long story short, I was a director of nursing. I then went to work in the Department of Health for supporting estates and facilities staff to understand sort of clinical aspects of health in the built environment, and some of the patient aspects in the built environment, or patient's view, should I say. And then ended up in the NHS University developing e-learning, but still focusing very much on estates and facilities. So the built environment has become, I've gone from nursing to the built environment very sort of for quite a while. And then when I left the health service, I was asked by one of my contacts in a very large international facilities company to develop e-learning for them to support the rollout of their asset management strategy, which was the first company that had done it across the world really at that point. I knew nothing about asset management whatsoever, but I'm quite well informed, not expert by any means, but well informed.
So how long have you been doing that for?
Well, I did the work with the big company in 2011 up to 2013, and we developed the learning in. I brought a team together and we developed the learning in 9 languages across to roll out across the globe. And then from that, it was obviously very clear that asset management as a discipline was growing, and set up with a group of colleagues Asset Wisdom. So Asset Wisdom was created in August 2013. Right. So we are we're going to be soon 10 years old.
That's a great milestone. Well done.
We're still here.
What makes you different from the competition? You say it's a very sort of early stage sector, but what makes you stand out from?
Okay, well, we are purely about education. The competitors, if there are such in the same way as we normally think of competitors, most of them are consultancy companies that provide education as a part of what else they provide, whereas we provide education in asset management, and that it's all e-learning or webinars. It's all digitally, based. So we can provide it across the world. And I think COVID probably in some ways helped that.
Sure.
I didn't do much else for anybody else, but in terms of it did sort of the boom in the demand for e-learning. I think the unfortunate thing about that is that the demand for e-learning was significant because there was no other way of doing it over a long period of time. But I'm not certain that many organisations have realised the benefits that brought, other than those immediate ones of we can still train our people mainly in compliance issues, we can do that. But I'm not convinced it's sort of managers have really got to grips properly with e-learning and what benefits it brings to their staff in terms of consistency of learning and the ability to do it in their own way, and because everybody's got different learning needs and ways of learning. So I think there's still a long way to go, but it's certainly moved a long way as well.
Okay, brilliant. So in terms of the business journey to date, how's that been for you? Has that been
challenging, up and down? I don't think you would expect. I think for some people, they still think that going into business on your own is an easy route. It's definitely not. Very rewarding though, and I think over that 10 years, obviously learned a great deal. We've had some challenges, which are certainly were, well, you have the financial challenges and the challenges that COVID brought, even though we weren't affected with it in the same way that many people were, but also challenges of ensuring that you're constantly on top of what you're doing, understanding what the customers want and how that shifts. And certainly in the discipline we work in, which, as I said, is very fast growing, understanding how that varies, how it changes over time, being ahead of that game, and importantly for us, being able to understand and adapt how the needs of our clients who are in Canada, in England, in Saudi Arabia, and all over, actually what are their needs, because they're not necessarily going to be the same. So understanding the cultural issues and how we communicate with people, it's not so much about the learning itself. That's a fairly constant, and it's built in that way, but I think it's much more about responding and communicating with clients is a very important part of what we do, and our very strong views and ethos is about how we liaise with our clients, how we understand what they need and how we deliver what they need.
So what does the kind of future look like then? You've mentioned a few challenges. What can you foresee? Is it continually developing that customer experience?
Developing the customer experience. I think also, as the discipline's growing, obviously the demands for different types of subject matter, the content that we develop and deliver is changing as well. So we work in asset management, but there is a very close relationship between asset management and BIM. And BIM is a big issue within the construction sector, especially. So we're currently looking at, we will be launching very soon a new module, which is very much based around BIM and asset management and what that alignment is. So again, that's about keeping up with what's happening in the sectors we work in. And we also have we launched recently, and we're really slowly getting this out into the marketplace, a new learning journey for the housing sector. So providing asset management learning that is endorsed by the Institute of Asset Management, which all our learning is, so provides qualification at certificate level, but also creating, it sounds terrible to say add-ons, but creating smaller modules that allows the learner to learn the knowledge they need to get the exam, but also how that knowledge needs to be applied within the housing sector. And therefore they can develop, increase their knowledge, they can pass an exam, but they can also have knowledge that allows them to go back into the workplace and understand how to apply that knowledge, which is obviously the most important thing. That's what you're trying to do, is get people to understand how that knowledge applies, how they can apply that knowledge within their workplace. So that learning journey is a really important part of our thinking and our part and the way that we are moving for all of the other sectors that we work in. So health, housing, construction, we work with the CIOB. And that's a very important part of the future as well. You know, how do we build that learning journey for each of these sectors is something that we're working on very closely. And from the housing sector, we have not done, if I'm honest, a lot of conferences, etc. But with the housing sector, we are at a conference, so it's the first time for quite a long time. A conference at the Armouries in Leeds on the 21st, I think it is. So that's going to be interesting to see how that's received within the housing sector and how we can build those relationships.
Good stuff. Thank you for that. So moving on to yourself and what you can share as your biggest lesson in business to date on that journey that you've been on so far. If you could pick one, what would that be?
One, what would that be?
One or two. I'll allow you to couple, you know, if it
yeah, will you allow me to? Okay, that's fine. I think we are a very small company. And as you can imagine from my background, I had 13,000 people to manage, well, not directly managed, but was responsible for 13,000 people. One of my great learning points was if you're in a very small company, you have to respect that fact that you're in a small country and you do things differently. And I've got a great team. And we work well together, but that's one of those things, just respecting the fact that you're a small team and you all need to know probably everything that's going on to make sure that you can deliver for your clients at any time of the day. I think that's one thing. And the other thing which I do think is really important is being focused. I'm an ideas person. So I have to really rein myself back from going off in all directions, which I think is really a good idea. Because at the end of the day, you're there to make money. You're there to deliver to clients. But the building of the relationship with clients is and being very honest about all the things that you do, I think is the key thing to success.
Great. Good share. Thank you very much. So if you were to offer a piece of advice to someone just starting out in business, maybe reflective of what you've just said, what advice would you offer?
I think the most important thing is if you want to do it and you're clear that there's a market out there for whatever it is you want to do, then you should go for it. And that's probably something that a lot of people have realized during COVID. I think that is, as a result of COVID, because the world's changed for everybody. It's like if you don't do it now, you'll not do it. So, but make sure you've got a market, make sure you understand that market and you understand what customers need, and that whatever you're offering will deliver for that customer need. I think a lot of people have a lot of good ideas and off they go and set up a company and then they then start to look for customers. I think you need to be, before you really, launch yourself, be clear that you've got customers out there, not necessarily by name, but somebody wants whatever it is you're selling.
Good advice. Very good. Thank you very much. So what inspires you to do what you do? It could be the work that you do, your customers, the team, friends, family, books you read, things you listen to, all of the above. Share your inspiration.
I think all of the above, but I think it's about having, for me, it's about believing in what we do, believing it's needed, and having the relationships. We've got relationships that have been, we have a reseller model in part, and we've got the same people reselling our products that were doing them, 9 years ago. And they're great people and they're experts in their field. And that kind of relationship is very important. I think the other thing is, and one of them, for instance, is retiring in April, and he's been back to, he's been having conversations with me. Okay, so how are we going to move this forward now? And that's really important. So they feel engaged in the business, as well as being clients. That's really important. I think the other thing is I've got a very strong focus on education. and I can see it's making a difference what we do. So that again is what drives me.
Great. Yeah. Nice, thank you. So lastly, in terms of sharing any latest news around Asset Wisdom and what you're up to, or perhaps even if it's just the website to find some more information, feel free to share that as well.
Okay, well, I think I mentioned one thing was the housing event that we've got in Leeds, and we will then be going to events across the country. We've decided that's one of our strategies to, you know, the way forward. Housing is a very important part of our portfolio going forward. It's something that we're really keen to pursue. So the website is www.asset-wisdom.com. I will say it's in the process of being updated. So when you look at it today, it might not quite look the same tomorrow, but we're in the process. And I think also the launch of new modules. Our work with CIOB is very important as well, for the same reasons as the housing sector. We're in a sector where we are, you know, delivering learning to that sector, it's early stages, but we're hoping that will grow. I think it will grow. And the launch of the new BIM module, which is very, very important.
Excellent.
So there you go.
Well, good. Thanks, June. Been an absolute pleasure talking to you and hearing about your experiences to date and the business journey that you're on. I wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you very much. It took us a while to get to this point, but thanks, Mike, for your patience. Okay.
Thank you.